Hey everyone, welcome back to another entry in the Armor tutorial series for Arrow 6. Today, we're going to discuss the settings module. Now, this is a system, framework, and site-wide settings module. So when you first visit it, the settings you see here are for mostly the front end of your site. You've got your site name, your call to action or your slogan, the main contact phone number, the address, your URL, the site email address, which is the one that gets the emails from your contact form, your copyright, your website logo, your system logo, your verification tags for Google and Bing for SEO purposes, your Twitter URL or handle, your mail settings so that your contact form can email out, and any site-wide JavaScript or CSS. This is stuff that needs to be on every single page of your site. So this is the default settings for your site. The next one to look at is location settings. These are important because the system supports multiple locations in case you've got multiple locations for your business. But the reason these are important is because you need to assign a staff member to a location, especially if you're tracking metrics like time punches or work done. So no matter what, you should always have one location. And here you can enter in as much or as little information as you want. This is just any data that needs to be associated. So for example, we may have an address, city, state, and zip, as well as like open hours, maybe. So we'll save that location. And now you can see that it comes up here. So always make sure you've got a location. They're also used for tickets and purchase orders. So if you're using our e-commerce or our ticket system, you'll definitely need some location set up. User settings are how you change the user menu. Now, the user menu here on Armor is under My Account. You can see there are 3 links here. All 3 of those are created here. So you could create it like that. And basically it just adds links to that bar here. API settings is one that'll give you credentials to hook up to different APIs. This is mostly for our e-commerce platforms, but we've got payment processors like Authorize.net and Square, and different shipping APIs like UPS and USPS, as well as an API key for Armor's API. Market settings allows you to toggle whether or not you'd like to save credit cards in your system for future purchases. Please be aware that if you do want this functionality, the server that your website is hosted on will need to be PCI compliant. And then you can scan for processors to see which payment processors you'd like to use in your marketplace. System email is a relatively complex system that allows for a lot of people to get emails when a lot of things happen. Administrative are things like people who forget to clock out or break the system, or not break the system, but people who forget to clock out when people are notified that a job wasn't done, that sort of thing. These people get emailed. Errors and requests are either things that are broken in the system or when somebody uses our request system here to request a feature or let us know about a bug. These people get notified. I would recommend leaving at least one Armor Techs address in both of these. That way the Armor Techs get notified as soon as something breaks. Generally speaking, keeping the system in place lets us fix errors before you're even aware that they're errors. Order notifications would probably go to a sales team, so you put a sales email here. If you are doing tickets and invoices, here is where you can upload an image to do the header for them. If you're doing quotes, here's the same. If you're doing work orders or tickets, you'll probably have some sort of agreement that they have to agree to, so you'll enter that verbiage here. If you're doing an email template for a work agreement, you'll set the text here, and for an invoice here. And then we get to our form filters. This is a system modeled off of cPanel. Basically, you have a failure score, in this case 50, and then you have a bunch of rules. So if a contact form contains these words, we get a score of 30. If it also contains these words, we add a score of 20. If we reach the failure score, it does not get emailed to anybody. We discard it. It's probably spam. And adding your own filters is easy. You just simply click Add Item, scroll to it, type in whatever you'd like to filter. You have 3 options. You have contains these words, like phrase, and exact match only, and then you give it a score. That way you can set up your own email filters for your contact form. And the last section is the email template. Whenever the system emails, it uses this template to send that email. This one would require a little bit of HTML or PHP experience, but as you can see, this is all the code that it takes. And these two pieces of what we're calling short code with the 2 brackets on the end will get replaced with the title and the message content. For example, if you're sending out a quote, instead of the word message here, the entire quote's information will be in that section. So as long as you leave these 2 pieces of short code in it, the system will continue to work. Moving over to optimization, this is a tool that increases your page speeds and reduces the server processing. Sometimes they can create unexpected behavior, as you see here. Email support at Armortext if you need assistance. Basically, there are 2 systems here. The minification system compresses codes by removing unnecessary white spaces, comments, and line breaks. It's very good for serving JavaScript and CSS documents. Generally speaking, when your site is launched, we will have already minified the documents you need to minify, so you shouldn't have to worry about it. But if you do, and you're not serving them, you simply need to check this box and rebuild the minified resources. The second system is the caching system. We explained caching a few times during this tutorial series, but it's basically taking dynamic content and saving it to a static file so that we can serve the static file rather than having to rebuild the dynamic content every time. This should also be set for you when your site is launched, but if you are trying to make changes to the pages, you might need to turn off the page caching or rebuild the cache every time you make those changes, because we'll be serving from files rather than databases, which is where your changes will be saved. And again, if you've got questions, feel free to email support@armortext.com. The final section is the accounting section. This is actually an internal tool that allows you to set clients that don't count towards the accounting fields. For example, inside of Armor's ticket system, we assign internal tasks to Armor. Well, in order to not throw off our workflow of how much money is actually coming in and going out, we exclude Armor from accounting calculations, so we put Armor in right here. Otherwise, those are the default functions of the settings module. If you've got any questions or feel like I missed something, please feel free to email us at support@armortext.com. We really appreciate you guys consuming our content. You guys are the reason that we get to do what we love every single day, so thank you so much for that. And as always, stay awesome.